class if anyone has questions later.
Yeah, catch up with our after class. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so please, unless you have talked to me previously, you need to turn your devices off and put them away, even though I find your Budapest sticker entirely hilarious. Yeah. You been to Budapest?
What's that?
Has you been to Budapest?
Best friend. Best friend.
Okay. Last time, so the first time I was there was in 2000, and it was beautiful. Second time I was there was like in 2017, and it was crawling with homeless people. Just bizarre. Change. Okay, so on that note card, as I mentioned, I want your name, your hometown, and country. If it's not United States, tell me your current job. Where are you working right now? If you're a full-time student, just write down full-time student, not a problem. What are your professional aspirations? That is, what do you want to be when you grow up, if you're planning to grow up at all? And an interesting fact about yourself. So I said in the interest of fairness that I would do the same thing. My name, you can either call me Dr. Haggard or Professor Haggard. My full name is Kelly Stephen Haggard. And I was Kelly for the first 31 years of my life. It's actually an Irish word that means warrior. They didn't used to name little girls Kelly, strangely. But then people get confused, especially when my wife's name is Dana. And that goes either way too, right? Because we've got at least 2 Danas in this building with opposite genders. Anyway, so I became Stephen at the tender age of 31 just because we had to avoid some confusion when we started working in the same building. My hometown, I'm from Carthage, Missouri. Anybody here from Carthage? Good for you. Anybody here know where Carthage is at? Have you ever been to the Precious Moments Chapel? How was that?
I was really little.
Oh, good for you. Okay. So, yeah. So it used to be I would take girls there on dates because it was cheap, free. But that was about it. My current job, I am a professor of finance here. I am a full professor. There's only one more promotion I can get, and that is distinguished professor. And I just sat on the committee to determine who could do that, and I saw what they had to do to get it, and I can tell you now, I will never be a distinguished professor. So I'm just too lazy to do the paperwork. My professional aspirations, folks, I am living the dream. I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I don't want to be a department head, a dean, or anything else like that. This is what I want to be doing. And I enjoy being here with you, and I hope that that comes across when we talk. Interesting facts. I'm going to give you a few, just in case some of them you don't find interesting. Number 1, I've been almost killed on the job twice, both before I became a professor. Number 2, Dick Cheney owes me $11,000. Number 3, let's see. I've become less interesting at old age because I forget some of the neat, cool stuff that I've done. Oh, I have a product that you can buy at Walmart that I helped develop back in 2000, 2001. Any of those of any interest? Does anyone know anything about those? Yeah.
Why does Dick Cheney owe you 11 grand?
Okay, so Dick Cheney, before he was Vice President of the United States, was the CEO of Halliburton. I worked for Halliburton. It was December 1998, and I am working in Dallas, Texas, at a manufacturing facility for Halliburton. And the newspaper says Halliburton to buy Dresser Industries. And I thought, there's no way that's going to affect me. But here's the problem. At Halliburton, we had profit sharing. And the profit sharing was based on a formula of your salary and the profits of the firm. And so we already knew the pro forma results. And so we'd already all figured out what our money was going to be for that year. So mine was $11,000. By the way, it should be $11,000 plus interest, right? Okay, so but oil prices had been really high that year, so we had a lot of profits. The next year, we had already started to see oil prices dropping. And so what Dick Cheney did was to accrue all the expenses of the merger into 1998, destroying all the profit for that year. So what's any percentage of 0? Yeah. And then, of course, he over-accrued just to do that. So then the next year, oil prices were bad, the company was losing money. He reversed some of those accruals so it didn't look quite so bad. Now, it had 2 effects. Number 1, to save the company on taxes. And number 2, it hosed over the employees. So that's my Dick Cheney story. By the way, I have met Dick Cheney, and he's exactly as unentertaining as you might expect. Okay, other questions?
How did you almost die twice?
How did I almost die twice? Okay, well, the first time was at a place called Arkansas Nuclear One in Russellville, Arkansas. Have you ever been there? And so if you drive past I-40 and you see this big cooling tower and the steam, that's Arkansas Nuclear One. And I was inside a thing called a reactor containment building. And reactor containments are round. And unfortunately, scaffolding is square. And so they had put some plastic over this whole thing in order to keep it from getting contaminated, because we didn't want to have to clean it up when we got done. Unfortunately, and by the way, this is at 372 feet above sea level, and down here at 317 feet above sea level, there is a pile of scaffolding and all sorts of sharp, jaggedy stuff. And so I step into this and I start falling, and I am going. And at the last minute, this mechanic from Oklahoma named Steve grabs my arm, pulls me back up, sets me back on the scaffolding, and says, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah, thanks." Okay, that's number one. Number two, by this time I'm in the oil industry, and here's the wellhead down at the bottom, and this guy pulls in, driving a truck. You can tell I'm a terrible artist, right? Okay, so driving a truck, and he parks it at the top of the hill. And my buddy is standing down here, smoking a cigarette. Does that already sound stupid? Yeah. 12,000 PSI oil and gas well, this guy's smoking a cigarette. And I'm standing by him, of course, because we have to work together. And the truck starts to roll down the hill because the guy had forgot to set the parking brake. Now, it is the one and only time in my entire life that I've ever seen a one-legged truck driver. If any of you know about driving a manual transmission, you know how difficult it would be to be a one-legged truck driver, but this guy, apparently, he could pull it off. The one thing he couldn't do, though, was to catch the truck as it was going down the hill. And so the truck got away from him. If this had been the entire story, he would have sheared off the wellhead, my buddy's cigarette would have, poof, and we would have been crispy critters. Fortunately, it was lunchtime, and we were lazy. We didn't want to carry the cooler down the hill. And so my buddies had pulled our crane truck down here, and it was actually right between, and this truck actually hit our crane truck and stopped as a result. And that's what kept me from getting killed the second time. Any questions? Can I recommend almost getting killed? Almost. Kind of gives you some perspective. Can I recommend getting killed for reals? Nah. 1 out of 10, do not recommend. Okay. Anything else?
What's the product?
If you go to a Walmart pharmacy and you get pills in an amber vial, if you flip it over and it says O-I on the bottom, the color in that was one that I helped create back in 2002. And I assume it's still in there. It was so freaking great. I mean, why would they get rid of it? Other questions? Okay, so what I'm going to do is we'll try to get through everything, and if so, then I'll come around and we'll talk to each of you about your note cards, and we'll try to get to know a little more about each other. By the way, I am video recording this, and I will post our lectures out there for you to see. And that way, if you miss, you can watch it. Now, I've already got live videos out there. In some of them, I'm wearing a face shield and some other stuff. You can probably guess why. But I will post ours out there, and I'll post lectures by date. And that way, if you miss it, you can go watch it again. And if when you're preparing for the exam and you don't understand something from your notes, you can go back and watch that lecture video. So it might be good to date your notes, and that way you'll know what video goes with which notes. I don't think that this is actually going to catch all that many of you unless sometimes I do the thing where I go up in the crowd. Yeah, you're the only one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, If you're extraordinarily shy, you could sit in the middle of the back row. By the way, typically I don't let people sit on the back row. Does anyone know why? That's where the troublemakers sit. I got your name, I got your number, right? Okay, so typically I don't let people do that, but you guys seem like a friendly bunch and you haven't thrown anything yet, so we'll just stick with our current situation. If we have trouble though, we'll have to change that. Today I'm going to do an introduction and start chapter 1. Next time, more chapter 1. If you haven't read chapter 1 yet, shame on you. You need to get going on that. Please be on time. I give you a little leeway on the first day because people have trouble finding classrooms. I know I do. But after this, I'll expect you to be on time. We're going to do a tour of Blackboard, including looking at the syllabus. We'll talk about how to get on Connect. We'll talk about discussions. Your homework 1 and discussion 1 are due August 28th. Now, you may look at homework 1 and you're going to go, whoo, this class is going to be easy. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Why do I make homework 1 so easy? It's to give you a chance to get familiar with all our systems without the added pressure of actually having to know anything. So that's what that's all about. So don't let that fool you. Respondus trial run. We use Respondus in this class for all of our exams. I got a little trouble there. For all of our exams. And if you have, how many of you have used Respondus Monitor before? Okay, so you're fairly used to it. I want you to go ahead and do the trial run though, because I have different rules for environment scans than other people might. So go ahead and do that. Have that done by September 11th. If you're interested in taking the exam earlier than that, you could ask my assistant. Do you guys know Erin Leahy? Yeah. If ask her, she'll take a look at it for you, let you know if you're good to go or not. And then exam 1 is September 18th. Now you're saying, woohoo, that's almost a month away. Folks, that time is going to go fast. It's going to go really fast. So you need to stick with this every day. If you're not doing a little something for this class every day, you're probably going to get behind. So let's talk about studying. How should you study? You should study the same way that you eat. Do you try to eat all of your food for a 3-week period all in one night? No. Why not? What would happen? You'll die. Very good. Now, you're going to die. You'll probably explode, and that's not good. Now, students, unfortunately, the studying problem doesn't have that same effect, or people would know not to do it, right? But your body, for sure, would not be able to absorb the nutrients out of all that food. And your brain can't absorb all the goodness that we're talking about here if you're not in this stuff basically every day, or at least every other day. So that's what I would tell you need to do there. Let's see. I think we're ready to talk about Blackboard. Hopefully you guys are familiar with Blackboard. It lands on the announcements page. I try to email every announcement to everybody, but 2 things happen there. Number 1 is sometimes Blackboard is jacked up and doesn't get the email out. And the second thing is sometimes I'm jacked up and don't click the right box. So what does this mean for you? You should check this thing every 24 hours to see new announcements. It's not a big deal. You should be doing it for all your classes. So those are the announcements. Now let's talk about the syllabus. Okay, so you guys already know my name. My office is in 333 Glass Hall. If you go to, so by the way, my wife is also a professor here. I think I kind of mentioned that. Her name is Dana, and she's in office 332. I'm in office 333. So if you knock on Dr. Haggard's door and a good-looking blonde woman answers the door, you're at the wrong one. She'll help you to see where I'm at if you can't find me on your own. Okay, of course our class is here 11 and 12:15. I appreciate you guys showing up. My office hours are 1:30 to 2:30 Tuesday and Thursday, and Zoom by prior appointment. And so it's a whole lot more flexible. Sometimes I'm able to meet with people at times that they So let's assume that you can't be on campus in Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. We can meet by Zoom some other time, not a problem. I am typically conscious between 6:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. I get up at 6 in the morning, but I'm not really conscious until after I've had a glass or two, or a cup or two of coffee. And so I try not to respond to your emails until then, so you won't get some meaningless garbage. If you have questions in the night, go ahead and email me. And you don't need to start off with, sorry to email you so late. It's not like I've got my phone set where it makes noise every time email comes in and I'm like, immediately. No. So don't worry about that. I am available. You'll be amazed at how quickly I'll get back to you. And if I don't get back to you within 24 hours, you need to let my department head know because I'm dead. Right? I'm either dead or the internet's been knocked out or something like that. So over the years, I've been putting together this syllabus, and you can guess that almost, in fact, every single rule in here is a result of my experience with a former student. Now, not all of you are those kinds of people. In fact, maybe none of you are. However, I can't tell just by looking at you, so I have to put the rules out there. And then, of course, I will always have someone that says, oh, well, certainly that doesn't apply to me. Now, do you think I'm the kind of person that's going to say, oh, no, don't worry. You don't have to do your exam on time. No, I'm not, right? And I'm laying all this out up front. I'm telling you exactly what's going to happen. And what really amazes me is when people are shocked when I do what I say I was going to do. And I have a theory on why that is. So you guys are what, Gen Y, millennials, something in there? Gen Z, holy shit. Gen Z, you guys are used to being lied to. You've been fed a constant stream of bullshit since the day of your birth. So I guess it shouldn't surprise me that you're surprised when I do what I say and say what I do. Now, some of you are going to say, I'm going to try them out here. If you try, if you ask for an exception, I'm going to hit you with a 20-point penalty because you already know the answer. I'm not going to give exceptions. The only exceptions I give are if you have an accommodation from Disability Resources, more than happy to work with you. But otherwise, we're going to be living by the syllabus. Now, people have on my teaching evaluations, there's like, I'm scared to ask a question because I don't want the 20-point. No. Questions are fine. And in fact, if you don't understand the syllabus, I'd be glad to clarify things for you. What I don't want are for you asking for exceptions. Do you see the difference? Okay. Okay, prerequisites. I've already emailed you guys and told you if you haven't had the prerequisites for this course, you should probably get out. And the reason is this. I don't know why they started telling students that prerequisites were optional. They're like, give it a shot. Bad idea. Bad idea. And I think we may even have someone in here that was in my class last spring that found out they needed to get out, right? So, can you testify?
Well, I only was in here for like a week, so I didn't find out what it was like, but yeah, I'm glad I went to the class.
Very good. There's your testimony. I didn't even pay her. Okay. Back to the story. So if you haven't had the prereqs and we haven't already talked, please let me know and we'll talk about that. The required online stuff, really not a problem. It's going to be so easy. It's going to be direct via Blackboard. You don't even have to worry about setting that up. You are required to get a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, and there is a link where you can get an insanely cheap subscription. Now, if you are a professional and you're getting a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, I think it runs something like $500 a year. Do you know why they can charge that? People will pay it. And why will people pay it?
Because they're stupid.
They're readers.
No.
Quality of the product, perhaps?
Yeah, it's worth it. Because they're stupid.
Well, if we can get it cheap, I'm spending $500 for it.
Oh, no. You didn't listen to what I said. I said when you're a professional, you're going to have to pay that. For here, yeah. Oh, yeah. And by the way, get the student subscription for as absolutely long as they'll let you have it, right? And when they say, it'll say expected graduation date, put down like 2029. and then they'll let you keep having the student subscription, right? Yeah. Average Wall Street Journal subscriber as of a few years ago made more than $100,000. I'm sure it's more than that by now, but there's a reason they can charge that. It's because it's totally worth it. And by the way, when you go on job interviews, do you think job interviews are only about determining whether or not you have the technical skills to do the job? No. In fact, they're kind of hoping that we've screened out the knuckle draggers here, right? And so if you've got a degree from this place, they're kind of hoping that you know what the hell you're talking about. So what is the interview also about? It's what I call the lunch test. Would I want to go to lunch with this person? And how do you let them know you're the kind of person that they would like to go to lunch with? Number one, chew with your mouth closed, right? Number two, being an interesting conversationalist. And given that the grand majority of professionals in the United States and worldwide read the Wall Street Journal, if you also read the journal, you will have common ground. Now, is it all just about stock prices and that kind of crap? Absolutely not. There are all sorts of really interesting stuff in the journal that could make for this kind of small talk chit chat. In fact, it might even make you more attractive to potential mates at cocktail parties because you'll have all sorts of crazy stuff you can talk about. So I would highly recommend that you do that. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, wait a minute, I can look at that stuff for free at the library. Hey, more power to you. If you want to trot over there and look at the paper copy, great. If you want to try to use their janky 1996 system to read it, great, but you're going to miss out on all of the stuff, the other stuff. The point of the journal isn't just to read the articles I tell you to. I want you to be perusing through that and seeing all sorts of interesting stuff out there. You'll be amazed how much it will impact your life. Required calculator. Everybody in here have a TI-BA 2+? Anybody planning to fish with some other rod? No, very good. If you bring a Casio or anything else like that to an exam, or if you use it on the exam, no. It's the TI-BA 2+. So just go ahead and get that if you don't have it already. You should because the prereq requires it. Computer requirements, you can read that for yourself, but basically you need to have a computer that can do Respondus Monitor, and that's going to be a Mac or a PC. They think that it works on Chromebook now. No. I have someone telling me no. Right? So I don't even allow people to try. I also don't allow you to do it on an iPad. So it's going to be a Mac or a PC, and I really don't care where you do it as long as you meet the requirements of basically not cheating. Okay. Simple questions via email. In fact, if you've got homework questions or practice questions, you can copy and paste that into your email, and then I will do my very best to answer it. Now, there are two reasons to copy and paste it into your email. Number one, it's if I'm looking at it on the couch of a night and I can see the whole thing, I could probably just tap out the response and let you know right then. Number two, when students try to type stuff in, they undoubtedly will get at least one number wrong. If you give me at least one wrong number, are we ever going to get the correct answer? No, that frustrates both of us, so we're not going to do that. So just copy and paste that stuff in. Glad to help you. In-class computers, tablets, recorders are expressly forbidden unless we've talked otherwise. I've told you about Blackboard. Course plan for the unexpected. If, and I hope we're past this, but if we get hit by another wave of COVID and we have to evacuate, basically I have this thing set up already to just instantly move into just being online. And so that's what we'll do. And we will keep our, unless I am ordered otherwise, we will keep our due dates the same. Everything will be the same. It'll just be, you'll be watching the lectures via video instead of seeing the live show. Okay. Discussion board. I'll show you where the discussion board is. But you're going to go out there and you're going to write. I go out there and I post an article. In fact, have you guys already looked at the discussions? What's the first one? Yeah, people are scumbags, right? The second one I just put up 2 days ago. I can't remember what it is. But what you need to do, and the only ones that are graded are the ones with numbers. So discussion 1, discussion 2, those are graded. And so you need to go out there, read the article, and then answer the questions in your discussion. If you use less than 50 words to do that, you're going to get a 0. If you put it out there too late for people to rate, you're going to get a 0. Now, some of you are already sweating, wondering, how early do I have to get it out there? If you're out there at least 24 hours before the deadline, undoubtedly it will get rated. The ones that I see that don't get rated happen at 10:30 p.m. or later on the day that it's due. So go ahead and just get it done the day before or early the due date, and you should be fine. Now, how are they going to be rated? You folks are going to be rating them. I want each of you to look at 6 to 12 discussions, and you're going to use the Amazon system of 1 to 5 stars. So, if the discussion post really sucks, what are you going to give it?
1.
1. Very good. If it's fantastic, what are you going to give it?
5.
5. And I'm going to take the number of stars that the person gets and multiply by 2, and that's going to give me the number of points. By the way, typically, what do you think students rate each other? 5. If you get a 4, that's the equivalent of you suck, right? you really, either you've really angered someone or your discussion is awful, right? Okay. And if your discussion is late, of course, no one can rate it, so you get nothing.
How many people do you need in your discussion, like, to rate it? Like 6 at least?
Oh, actually, as long as just 1 rates it, you'll still get a rating. I want you to rate 6 to 12, and so that means you'll have some overlap, just in case there's one person that likes to go out there and just rate everybody and give them 1 star. I hope we don't have any psychopaths like that in this class. Do you guys know one of these people? He just ratted you out.
Oh, this is not believable.
Yeah. Please refrain from torpedoing your classmates unless you feel it's warranted. Right? Okay. Yeah, I had a boss that he would rate at least one of his employees as a 1 star out of 5. And I asked, why do you do that? And he says, well, undoubtedly someone's a loser here. Oh yeah. Just wait till you get in the world of work. It's great. Okay, back to the story. We've got 4 exams in here. We've got 3 midterm exams, and they're each worth 200 points. And you're going to get 75 minutes to take them. You're going to do it via Respondus Monitor. You're going to have 40 questions. They're going to be multiple choice questions, and there are going to be 4 or 5 choices each. So you should be able to get 20 to 25% just randomly guessing. And sadly, I have some people that can't even manage to do that. But I'm hoping none of those folks are here today. Okay, exams have to be started by 7:59 p.m. on the due date. Everything else in my class is 11:59 p.m. This one I do 7:59 p.m. and the reason is I want you guys to get started and rolling before I go to bed. I'm old, I go to bed early. By the way, I'm 51 years old, just in case you're trying to figure that out. I'm 51. I try to get to bed by 9 o'clock each night. I know that just blows your minds, right? But I also crawl out of bed at 6 in the morning, so, you know, it all equals out. Back to the story. So you need to be in that by 7:59 p.m. because undoubtedly at least one of you is going to have a technical issue. At least one of you is going to have a technical issue, and at that point, what I can do, if you'll email me with please reset my attempt, I will go ahead and reset it and you can try again. And the earlier you start, the greater the chances that you'll be able to get that. In fact, if I were you, I would try to start it such that you'll be finished before 7:59 p.m. So in case things go horribly, horribly wrong, we can reset and you can try it again. Let's see. I think I've covered all that. Oh, by the way, the final exam is optional, and it's only optional if you've taken exam 1, 2, and 3. And if you have done all those, I will either give you the average of your 3 exams for your final score, or you can try the final exam in an attempt to improve your grade. It doesn't replace bad performances. It only replaces any missed exams. If you miss an exam, then your final exam score will fill in for that too. And the final for those folks is not optional. You have to take it. You have to take it. It counts as both the final and as your missed exam. Okay. Now, we always have to put in there what kind of exceptions. Basically, the only way I'm going to give you extra time on the exam is, number one, if I have something for disability resources. Number two, if you can provide documentation showing that you were just really, let's say that you got hit by a truck the week before and you're in the hospital and all your arms and all your legs are in plaster casts and you're in traction, we could talk, right? But these other excuses that I get, I reserve the right to be skeptical. By the way, do you think I'm going to accept this story without some sort of documentation? I had a guy who said, oh, I need extra time to take the final exam because my brother-in-law was in a car wreck and he died. I said, I'm so sorry to hear that, but I have great news. Tell you what, you don't worry about it. I'll give you an incomplete for the class, and then you can take the final with the next class that comes through. You know what he said? I think he just got better.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding. At least the guy was honest about being a liar, right? Okay, yeah. Now, when I tell these stories, now you're starting to see why my syllabus looks the way it does, because I have dealt with a bunch of strangeness over the years. Okay, homework. Homework you're going to access through Blackboard, and I'll show it to you, but it's actually going to take you out to Connect, and you're going to do your work on Connect. You should get 3 attempts. If you're not getting 3 attempts, let me know. You need to remember to submit the homework when you're done, because merely saving it doesn't do the trick. You have to submit. Don't submit until you're ready to burn one of your 3 attempts. Oh, don't use mobile devices for Blackboard or Connect. Every single time I have someone that has a problem with Connect, and they tell me that they can't see this, and I go out and look at it, and I'm like, phew, it's right there. It's always because they're trying to do it on a mobile device. So don't do that. Grade determination. Check this out. So by the way, there's 1,000 points available in the class. We've got 800 from exams. We've got 100 from homework. We've got 100 from discussions. Altogether, you got 1,000 points. If you get greater than or equal to 900, woohoo, you've got an A. Now, this mathematical symbol leaves no room for misunderstandings. What if you got an 899.99999? B, very good. I do not round up. Round up is for killing weeds, not raising grades. Now you say, oh, you cruel and heartless bastard. I'll take that one. What does this mean for you? It means you need to work really hard not to find yourself in that situation, right? And so you don't blow stuff off. Get your work done. Every single person that I find that's just a few points short, I can always go back and show them, well, like, you only did 8 of the homeworks. Why didn't you do all 12? You only did 7 of the discussions. Why didn't you do at least 10? And so just don't put yourself in that situation. Now, some of you, even though you understand now that my policy on this, some of you will find yourself unable to keep from reaching out to me to ask me to round up your grade. But I have a really good solution for that. I just deduct 25 points from your total, and now you are no longer that close to the next grade. You can rest easy, I can rest easy, everything's right with the world. By the way, do you think I've ever had to do that? Oh yeah. Now, the most common people that ask are the people with D's and F's. Why? They got nothing to lose, right? They got nothing to lose, and they think, well, maybe he's really not that mean. I am, right? Okay. Let's see. So now you can see how the rest of that falls out. By the way, in the MBA program, what do you have to have in order to get credit for a class? What grade? C. So what does that mean you need in this class? 700 points. You need 700 points. Now, keep in mind, for every C, you've got to have an A to offset that. I recommend marketing. You need an A to offset it, right? Because you got to have a 3.0 GPA in order to get out of this joint. And so some of you getting a C out of here should be something you're very proud of. because not everybody does. And just like I wouldn't expect that I would do terribly well in a marketing class, if you're a marketing person, you might not do terribly well in here. So your goal should be able to get that C so you can pass, assuming you've got an A somewhere else to offset it. People's expectations of getting A's in every class is regardless. I don't know where that came from, other than some of the people in your undergrad and some other of my colleagues who shall remain nameless, maybe handing out grades like candy. And then you get here and I ask you to actually learn some stuff and do some work, and sometimes that's more than people can manage. And so you need to work hard. By the way, sometimes people say, this is what they think about exam one. You're like, I won't do anything, and then I'll go take exam one, and if it's hard, then I'll start to study. Why is that a bad idea?
It's gonna be hard.
Yeah, it's okay. First of all, it's going to be hard. If you've got that attitude, you're probably going to get your butt handed to you on exam one, and now you're going to find yourself deep in a hole, and you're going to have to spend the rest of the semester trying to dig yourself out of that hole. So here's my recommendation to you. Study your tail off for exam one. And if you take it and it's quite easy, you say, whew, I don't have to study as much for exam two. But I will tell you, exam two is the most difficult test in the class. So you might want to go ahead and study for it just as difficult as you did, or as much as you did for exam one. Anyway, I have very little sympathy. And people will reach out to me and they're like, I don't know why I didn't do well on exam one. Folks, I have an electronic record of everything you do, right? I can tell if you've been reading the Smart Book. I can tell if you've been watching my cheesy videos. I can tell if you've been downloading the freaking PowerPoints, right? I can tell how much time you're spending on practice and Connect. And so as soon as people start on this, I just work so hard, I immediately pull up all their records and I say, well, it looks like you've put 17 and a half minutes into this class since we started, right? And they're like, yeah. So don't lie to me. Let's get to the truth, and then we can solve the problem. Okay. Disability accommodation. If you need a disability accommodation or you have one, please let me know outside of class. Academic dishonesty. If you cheat in my class, it's an XF. XF gets you kicked out of the MBA program, cast that into the darkness, never to return. So what should you take away from this? Don't cheat. Don't cheat. We had a guy that was cheating on Respondus Monitor. I won't tell you how, because you might try it and then you get in trouble too. Of course, we'd catch you. But he was cheating, and we caught him in a finance class. And then we asked his other professors to go back and look at the videos, and it turns out throughout the entire MBA program, he'd been doing the same thing. And he was popped out of the program. Now, he was a military officer. I wonder how well that went over with his branch of the military when they found out. Because, of course, now that he has to file for his reimbursement, he's not going to get it, right? So don't do that. Don't cheat. By the way, if you cheat, you're not actually learning anything, so don't do that. What's my attendance policy? Attendance is a fundamental part of the learning process. You really need to be here. I'll be here, so you should be too. I expect you to come to all the lectures and fully participate in all the classroom activities unless you are sick or suspect you have some sort of contagious illness. If you're, that part doesn't count for you guys, you're here. Do not visit me in person to tell me that you have an illness. I will hack, 20 points? Why do you think I want you to send me an email instead of visiting me in person to tell me that you're sick?
Yes.
What's that?
I feel like that's kind of obvious.
You know, for clever people, it is. But for other people, I'll give you an example. I had a lady that was in my night class, and she actually came by my office beforehand, knocked on my door. I opened the door, and there she is, and she's got this child with her. And this child is a peculiar shade of green and is producing copious amounts of mucus. And she says, I won't be able to make it to class tonight because little Johnny here caught dengue fever at daycare. I'm not sure it was dengue. It could have been malaria. I don't know. But she's bringing this kid to my office. I'm like, get out of here. So what if I get dengue fever? And then I come give it to you guys. Right? This is not how we control epidemics. Okay. Mobile phone policy. During class, your phone should be off and away. If it vibrates during an exam, if it makes any noise during an exam, you're going to lose 10% of the points possible for the exam, so don't do that. Not going to be rescheduling the final exam. You're going to have plenty of time to do it. If you want a recommendation or a reference letter, you should come by and we should talk. I'm very picky about for whom I provide such letters. By the way, I don't write letters for law school at all. We have enough lawyers. We don't need any more. I do not write letters for law school. But if you're someone that I would hire myself, I would write you a letter. Usually every semester I write 3 to 4 out of 100 students. I write 3 to 4. Now, the good news is if that letter happens to make it into the hands of one of my former students, they know, right? They know that if I wrote that letter that you probably got your stuff together, and because they know about my policy. So here are all the online testing rules, and you should definitely read that very carefully now and before the first exam. And the first thing up there says that I have my own policies, and I'm not bound by other professors' poor policies or their poor enforcement of their poor policies. I'm my own dude, right? I don't have anything to do with those people. If you wanted to complain to them and tell them they've been too easy on people, feel free. But don't come to me and say, well, in this class we didn't. I don't care. I don't care. Here's another one that's fun. Students must remain fully clothed. Do you know why I had to put that in there? Somebody was not clothed. And if you had to guess the gender of that person, what would you guess? It's actually across the board. Strangely, we've had all sorts of people go on natural during. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, so please feel free to read all those for yourself. If you want to see the other university policies on Blackboard, there's a link. You can go there, and that way I don't have to put all the boilerplate in here. By the way, here is our calendar. You need to put all these things on your calendar, on your schedule right now. All right? How many of you use a paper planner? I'm going to tell you why the electronic planner is superior. I was using a paper planner when I was a manager of manufacturing engineer, something or other. And the problem with the paper planner is it never reminds you. It doesn't go and tell you that it's time to go to your meeting. I missed a lot of meetings and eventually got fired from that job. Now, there were some other things going down there too. Oh, we'll talk about that more in the semester. But don't do that to yourself. Put all your stuff on the electronic calendar in your phone. It will remind you. And in fact, I have Alexa every morning, tells me what I'm going to be doing during the day. And sometimes I'm shocked. I'm like, whoa, I got to do that? Right. So put it all electronically. You'll have access to it basically everywhere. Only keep one calendar. And so even though my dentist appointment has nothing to do with the university, it's on that calendar because then everything's in one place. Does that make sense? Okay. So here's all the dates. Everything is known in advance. There's the order of the chapters, but I've already got those written out here to the side. Please just read that before you start asking too many questions, and we will have a much better time. Questions? Okay, let's get into the meat of this thing. Here's your content. By the way, which of these do you think you should start with? Start here! You'd be surprised how many people don't get that. And then I've got a couple of things here about following your passion and how boring jobs are better. You remember I told you earlier that you guys have been fed a lot of crap? How many of you have been told, find your passion, follow your passion? That is stupid, right? Do you think anyone has a passion for sewage treatment? No, but aren't you grateful every time that you flush the toilet that someone's doing that job? Because otherwise it just backs up into your house, right? Didn't know if you knew that's what happened if the sewage treatment plant went on strike, right? It all backs up into your house. Okay, so watch those 2 videos and recalibrate your thinking. I have been a manufacturing engineer. I've been a design engineer. I've been a janitor. I used to clean toilets for $2.85 an hour. I mean, I've done all sorts of jobs. Do you think I had a real passion for toilet cleaning? No. Instead of doing what you like, learn to like what you do. And I thought I would hate sales, but I ended up loving it because I learned to like what I did, because I learned how I could use my special characteristics to be able to do that job well. Okay, job and internship opportunities. You can go out here and see what's been posted. I won't go through those, but hopefully, by the way, did you know that that's the goal here, is for you to get a job, right? Sometimes I have people who are just amazed that that's the goal. We need to talk. Important message from Snoop Dogg. By the way, Snoop Dogg is slightly younger than I am and slightly older than my wife. So that kind of brackets where Snoop Dogg is in this whole thing. Some people think him and Martha are actually having an affair. Not true. Algebra review. By the way, how many of you think algebra sucks? Go ahead, raise your hands. Yeah, this is for you. You need to go out there and review that, because otherwise you're going to do very, very poorly. Next, I have some study tips. This is online, but it's equally good for you guys. And it's so funny because students will crash through exam 1 and they're like, I need to know how to do better in this class. I say, no problem. Let's have a Zoom call, or let's meet in my office. And then I go over this list with them item by item, and I say, are you doing this? And then, of course, they lie to me, and then I prove to them that they lied to me, right? And then they learn they need to be honest with me. And then we go through this whole list, and they're like, wow, that's a lot of good stuff that I could do. Hey, why not read the list now and start doing it now? Save your exam 1 grade. How about that? You don't need to do the virtual office tour. You can come to my office by yourself. You don't have to do the campus tour. Calculator purification ritual. Undoubtedly, your calculator is not brand new. I very much encourage you to go out and use the calculator purification ritual to excise the evil spirits out of your calculator and get it to working properly. If your calculator is throwing weird numbers, let me know. Occasionally, we will find a bad one, and you don't take chances with those. You banish them, you toss them. By the way, what kind of calculators do you think wind up on eBay being sold as used? The bad ones, right? People hold on to the good ones. I hope. Okay, there's the Respondus Monitor instructions. You can read that for yourself. There's a little deal on how to rate discussions in Blackboard. Here's a good video on why you should wear a suit. It's optional, but I think you should do it. Here's some environment scan example videos. There are 3 ways that we allow in here: the mirror, the wired USB cam, and the laptop. And we have amazing videos to demonstrate each one of those. Then we have the trial run, which is due September 11th. And then we have exam 1, 2, and 3. I had a guy, he was going to take exam 3, but he took the final exam instead. And he says, would you please put a note on there for future students that this is not exam 3? And so that's why that's there. I'm sure you look at that and you're like, what the hell? That's why that's there. Here's my YouTube channel. I've got, it's mostly this stuff, but I've got some other fun stuff out there. The solutions manual. You know those mysterious questions at the end of the chapter that you guys never look at? The solutions are right here. So if you want some extra practice, if you come to me and say, oh, I've done the practice, I've done the homework, I need some extra practice, I'm going to say, woohoo! Go to the end of the chapter, do those problems, and use the solution manual to determine whether or not you're correct. Now, for each chapter, I have out here a folder. And in each folder, they're structured pretty much the same. In the beginning are the lecture PowerPoint slides, and you will need to print those off. And then what I want you to do is read the chapter while writing your notes on those slides, and then bring those same slides to class. I know that's a weird idea to read the book before the class. Read the book before you come, and then the class lecture will make a lot more sense to you. You take some more notes on them, and then that puts all of your studying material in one place when you get to the exam. So you want to go ahead and print those off before class. Then we have videos, and we have two kinds of videos. We have lectures, and we have two kinds of lectures. We have the canned short version that I do for my online classes, and then we have the live version. Why is the live version better? Number one, there's probably more detail to it. Number two, students are able to ask questions, and you'll get to hear what questions they ask in addition to what's going on in here. And number three, the jokes are a little dirtier in the live show than in the studio version. So there you go. If you find any of my jokes to be too dirty, please let me know. They're all like PG-13. Okay, where are we going? Back to chapter 1. Chapter 1 practice. Now, here's where Connect comes into it. In Connect, you have 3 things that you need to do. Number 1 is that SmartBook thing up there, and you're going to read the book using SmartBook. Now, you say, I don't like SmartBook. It stops and asks me questions. Why do you think SmartBook does that? I know that when I used to read stuff, especially in the undergrad and the master's level, if my eyes passed over the words, I said, woohoo, I read it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how much did I actually understand? Very little, right? So the SmartBook, these questions, they kind of force you into the material. And after the first 2 or 3 times of saying, oh, I don't know, you'll start to learn to read a little more deeply. And so I guarantee you'll do better if you use SmartBook. Number 2, chapter 1 practice. When you click on the practice, this is, by the way, chapter 1 practice is just as pathetic and simple as homework number 1, so don't get too freaked out. But the practice is actually better preparation for the exams on any of the other chapters than the homework. I make the homework simple enough so you guys can earn some points, so hopefully you can hit that magic C. The exams are a little more difficult. The practice will be the best thing to help you prepare for the exam. And then, of course, there's the homework. And you can see the due dates for all these things are out there. By the way, why do you think I've got the Chapter 1 practice being due on December 31st? So you can do it over and over again. And after the due date on the homework, you can do what's called a study attempt. So you guys can do that over and over and over again. And then you say, I've done all those several times. What else can I do? I'll say, you know those questions at the end of the chapter? Use the solutions manual. Questions. Pretty much every chapter is set up that way. Oh, by the way, the other on the videos, let's go to a different chapter so we can see something better. Chapter 2. Videos. Oh, come on. Boom. We have examples. I may not always get around to working examples in class. If I don't, you can watch these. And if you have questions, you can let me know. Now, I'm going to try to work examples in class as time permits. For some reason, we are 3 lectures short this semester compared to a normal semester. Why? I have no idea. Well, one of them's the career fair, but it's like we've taken another entire week somewhere. I don't know why. So if I don't get around to working them in class, then you can watch these videos and ask me any questions you want. Okay, now, how are you actually going to get in to Connect? If you click on a practice, if you click on a homework, it'll take you there. So simple. Do you need to have a code? No. Do you need to have a magic password? No. Just take you straight there. Questions? Okay. And then finally, down at the end, we have the grade what if machine, which is a spreadsheet. And you can put in different numbers there and play around to determine, for instance, what do I need to get on exam 3 to get the grade that I want without taking the final exam? That's a good question to answer with the this grade what if machine. Or after you've already bombed exams 1, 2, and 3, you can find out what do I need to get on the final exam in order to be able to pass the class. So that's what that's for. It's just a spreadsheet. Any questions?